Hey folks, it's Rob, and this is Prison Architect Alpha Build 22, and really this is part 4 of How to Prison Architect. Today we're covering health and well-being. And you're like, health and well-being, really? Yeah, we're going to cover that today. So, why is that important? Well, you can see it's actually a significant part of your research tree here. It's like a mental health section down here. And hey, it's only going to cost you $1,000 to get those researched. Over here in the grants, you can see health and well-being's a thing. You get $10,000 up front, $10,000 upon completion. It wants you to build a medical ward, hire at least 2 doctors, and hire a psychologist. Okay? And there are advantages to having these things on site, right? Additionally, I'm going to talk about some of the programs that are unlocked by having these facilities and staff on site, and the actual health and care of prisoners. Okay? So, let's start at the top. First off, let's take that grant. So, okay, I want the health and well-being grant. Okay? Also, I'm going to take the visitation rights grant. Right, so, first off, research. So, as you can see, we're going to need to get the 2 doctors and get the psychologist. Now, that means we need to go to bureaucracy. We need to unlock health and the psychologist. I'm going to start with the psychologist and then do health. But that's my own personal preference. There's no reason to do one or the other faster really. Other than you can scratch off things on the list faster by doing one or the other. It's not really important. While we're waiting for that to happen, let's talk about our prisoners. So again, we covered some of this in the last episode, where prisoners have needs, right? And they have experiences, and sometimes they get addicted to things, and they have problems. Right, now see, currently, because we don't have a psychologist, it just when we hover over the prisoner, it says psychology with question marks around it. And that means we don't get a report on what this guy's experience has been like, what he's thinking. We don't know, we don't have that insight into what that prisoner is up to. Now, we are going to need an office for our psychologist. And he's going to need an office that we can have accessible by prisoners so that he can actually do work for us in rehabilitating prisoners. So, what I'm going to do is build a 4x4 office, but kind of out here in amongst stuff, right? Now, to get a 4x4 on the inside, it has to be a 6x6. So that's what we're doing, and I'm going to put an object on there, and I'm just going to put a door on there. That way prisoners can get in by themselves without having to be escorted. You may choose to have it that prisoners can only be escorted to see the psychologist. That is up to you. Also, I'm going to correct this issue up here, just because it does strike me as kind of silly the way I've done it so far, and if I had planned ahead on that one, I really wouldn't have done it this way. So I'm going to dismantle out that door, and we're going to put in the door over here, and we're going to rebuild the wall on that side. And that way, that makes a lot more sense. And you can see we have a little flashing light for the utilities, so we're going to need to get some electricity into there. And because this was built adjoining, the actual additional wall that would have been here is not here. So, but that's okay. A little extra room is going to work out in our favor at the psychologist office, because in practice, having some extra, you're going to probably want more than the minimum requirements for the office. Now, let's see, we'll just schedule that as an office. There we go. And we are going to put in the requirements for an office, as always, and that is the office desk. And actually, I'm just going to turn that around, because let's just have a bit of aesthetics in there. Let's face it, if prisoners are going to be walking in on you, you don't want your back to the to the door. And we'll put the chair there, of course, and we'll put in a filing cabinet as we were required to. There we go. Now, we also need some seating for the counseling to happen in, and I like to put in a sofa, because, it's as you do. But also, I'll put in another sofa over here. There we go. Now the psychologist is all set up for doing counseling. And just for aesthetic purposes, let's give him a decent floor, because, And, we can, these don't really do anything, these windows and such, but, you can totally put in windows. And they do illuminate the room. And hey, makes the room nicer, But all that is totally extra, okay? So, now, we will have unlocked we got the psychologist, so let's hire him. Go to staff. Click once, click off on the psychologist. Really, if you can, don't want to hire a whole bunch of psychologists; they're expensive. So now I have a psychologist, and as you can see, we've scratched this off the list here. And now, if I were to find a prisoner who's probably in the holding cell because it's shower time, yeah. So I'll send somebody in here to go and have a look. There we go, there's some prisoners. So, okay, right, there's exactly what we're looking for. Moon. He's flashing alcohol. Okay? And as you can see here, his needs are like clothing, family, privacy, alcohol. The bigger that plus, the more he needs it. And he needs privacy, he needs alcohol, he needs clothing, and he needs family. Now, clothing isn't that he's naked. Clothing's that his clothes are dirty, and he wants clean clothes. Okay? Prisoner laundry is how you solve that problem. Or you can staff a laundry with janitors, honestly. But we're going to address that as well. In the prison labor section. So that's the next part of the series. Now, because he's an alcohol addict, he needs rehabilitation or to go cold turkey. Just make him go cold turkey. We would go here and we would punish him and send him to solitary for 24 hours. He might die during the course of that. And that would not be good for your prison, to have prisoners die on site. Alternately, we can go to programs here, and you can see we can start an alcoholics group therapy. Now, we have 2 in queue. That means there's 2 people who are alcoholics on site. And we can do behavioral therapy for anyone who's violent, right? And the behavioral therapy happens in the psychologist's office, and these are sessions with the psychologist which help them deal with their aggression and their aggressive behavior, and hopefully makes them more docile, better adjusted prisoners. And it should help them with their reoffending rate as well, if you're actually interested in rehabilitating prisoners. Alcoholic group therapy. Alcoholics who can't satisfy their needs are going to try to satisfy their needs through stealing. They are going to get more and more agitated as their addiction flares up, and they are going to become problems if you don't do anything to try to treat their problems. Now, alcoholics group therapy doesn't have any kind of chemical replacement. It is literally talking therapy. Okay? And they're going to need a common room to have that in. Right now, if I click start, there is no regime time slot. And it isn't because there's not like a lack of time to fit it into, although that is definitely something that is a problem here. If we go to regime, we have no work time. But that's easily enough solved. I mean, I can just like go, well, let's make these into work, shall we? So now I have a 3-hour slot there. That's more than enough, okay? If I go again to start, no room found, right? So we're going to need a place to put that in. Health is busy unlocking anyway, so this is why we took the visitation rights. We need to build a common room anyway. And we need to build a visitation room and have at least 3 visitor tables and a pool table and 2 TVs and 5 phone booths on site. Okay. These all satisfy other needs that aren't like for booze or drugs. As you can see, like, this guy has a need for recreation, right? And he's complaining about, I have had no recreation, man. Oh, here's our other alcohol problem, or Olson. Olson and Moon, okay. Keevil's complaining about drugs, so that'll be a whole nother thing. Here's another one for recreation. He's satisfying his hygiene need right now, as you can see. Here, I'll start time. So, he's in the shower, and you can see the hygiene's going down. But they have like no privacy because it's a communal sleeping area. They don't have their own cells. The only source of communication with their families is one phone booth I've already put in. They have no source of entertainment. And I assure you, with no source of entertainment, they will eventually go gangbusters on you. So you need to sort that out. Now, what are we going to do about these things? Well, first off, we need to set up a common room. And I figure the simplest way to do that is actually, I'm going to remove some of the wall here, because it's a little in the way. Just slice that back. And I'm going to fit the common room in here on the side, because, again, I'm planning on a future larger prison. So I'm just going to make a rather large common room, because I want to be able to host relatively large meetings. Because that's where my AA meetings happen. They happen in the common room. But you want that to be fairly close to the psychologist's office because they are held by the psychologist. So the psychologist will leave his office and go there to that place. And again, your psychologist can only do one thing at a time. Now, we've heard the bureaucracy bell, so that means health is unlocked, which is good. That means we can now build the infirmary and doctors. And the infirmary doesn't have to be very large, per se, and it has odd space requirements. So we'll kind of fit that in here, too. So, my foundations, I'm just grabbing a foundation, and if you build like one of these next to the fence, it'll think the fence is a wall, so don't, that's something to keep in mind. If I tear down that fence right now, it's very likely prisoners will try to make a break for it. Oh, and we have 8 new prisoners coming in. Yep, they're being admitted. That means we're going to be over capacity, and you get to see how that works. What I will do is just control things. So I'm going to put a large jail door there. And I'm going to arrange for the removal of this fencing over here. And I'll have the tree knocked down because that'll probably interfere with my plans anyway. See, Moon is satisfying his need to talk to family, and that's good. He's like staying on top of that. And now Jackson's doing it. And you can see he's had the freedom to make a phone call. So he's like feeling a bit free. And that's good. It makes him more it makes him happier and more docile. Wait for that to get torn down, then we'll put up this just grab the entire tree. That was different. Right, because I did put that window in there. Nah, screw it. We'll have the window removed. Okay. Now it's going to need an entrance. And again, because this is a common area, I'm just going to like stick regular doors on. Right now I'm just going to put one regular door. Now, because the area is secure, again, I'm going to make that to locked open. And oh, it's not quite secure, but we'll have that secure in a moment. Fence. There. Okay. Now it's a little wonky shaped because we don't have this like wall in between here, and you know it's like strange that we have the psychologist looking in. But think of it as the psychologist checking up on the prisoners. Okay, so I'm gonna put in first off our I'm gonna use part of the space for my infirmary. Now, if I go to rooms and I see what the infirmary requires, it has to be indoors and it has to have a medical bed. That's it. I can have this be an infirmary, as long as I can fit the requirements into it. Now, medical beds are 2x2, so you wouldn't be able to use that, but you could use, in theory, a 2-block wide strip. And honestly, the main thing you're going to be using your infirmary for is methadone clinic. Yeah. If your prisoners aren't rioting and destroying the place, the main thing you're going to be wanting the clinic for is just actually as a methadone clinic. Yeah, I did put that there. Okay. And then, yeah. And we'll just use our spare staff door there. Because we are going to put in something else that isn't required, but is advisable that you put in, and that is our morgue. And again, requires to be indoors and needs slabs. And I would advise that you keep that as a staff-only area. Not because of any other particular reason, just for sensibility's sake. And you can totally just like drop in some slabs. Like so. Okay? And that will, basically, if people die, there's a place to keep bodies while we wait for an ambulance or hearse to pick them up. Okay? Now, we are going to have to hire 2 doctors for our infirmary. But honestly, at this stage, having 2 doctors is probably not necessary. The only reason we're going to hire 2 doctors is for the grant itself. There we go. But, now, because we have the doctors in place, we now have pharmacological treatment of drug addiction. As you can see, 1 in queue. So I'm going to start that. And between 5 and 6 p.m., we'll have a guy come down here and receive his methadone treatment, basically. And I can have an hour treatment at 6 to 7. I could have an hour treatment from 7 to 8. Basically, these happen during work times. Still don't have my room for my alcoholics group therapy. And there's no reason to start a behavioral therapy, although I could. It would happen in the psychologist's office, and I can see, as you can see, it would happen between 5 and 7. But there's no one currently queuing for it, so there's no reason to have that. You would pay for services that aren't happening. Essentially, you can have classes that nobody attends, and you're still paying for them. Now, my common room, I need that. I'm always lost in looking for these things, I swear. There it is. Right, so that's a common room, okay? Now, as a common room, it just basically needs to be indoors. That's the only actual requirement for the common room. But you might as well fit it in with some things that are going to be used. Now, first off, for group therapy, which happens in the common room, you're going to need seats. So, I would suggest some chairs. And, you know, arrange them as you will. But, I like to imagine, like, we're gonna have a little chat, right? Little one-on-one therapy session, right? And that's gonna be more than enough for what I need. We're also gonna need pool table, some TV, and some phone booths. So the common room is an excellent place to put these kind of things, as they will be used for these, for exactly this reason, for entertainment and distraction and satisfying of needs. And it's where they're going to go on their free time, effectively, if they're allowed to leave their cell. Now, remember how I said, like, make sure there's phone booths and things in various places? That way they can satisfy their needs where they are at the time they need to. So I'm actually buying additional phone booths, more than I actually have to buy. But that's because I like to make sure my prisoners aren't rioting. Now, we need 2 TVs in the place. I'm going to put one right here. And I'm going to put one in the holding cell, because I can. And you can totally put a pool table here in the yard as well if you want. You know, you can spread this stuff around. There's certainly experiment with it and see what works for you. So I still need a visitor tables and room. Now, originally, back in previous versions of the game, this would have just done just fine for visitation. Stick like a visitor table here. And, yeah, families will come in and visit, and it would work. But it's not really adequate to suit needs currently. And I could have put that in here, but again, the common room is being used for this purpose. I'm going to actually put my thing in here. I should double. I don't know. No, I'm gonna have a little Warren. Why not? And again, just gonna put a regular door because I'm not preventing prisoners from getting in here to go and visit people. Run some electricity over because it doesn't need water, but it's going to need power. Now, once the common room's been finished off, I'll show you about the programs on that one. Just as an aside, as you can see, as increasing the use of power, this red bar climbs, and you need to stay ahead of that by placing down new capacitors as you go. Right, there's our new room. So, room-wise, I'm going to make that a visitation. So, right, here's our visitation. And now if I go to objects, and I want a visitor table, thank you. Doesn't really matter which way you face this. The 3 seats are for the family. The 1 seat is for the prisoner. Okay? Really doesn't matter otherwise. That's the 3 I'm required to have. I'm going to put in a 4th just to make proper use of the room. And there we go. Right, so because here we are, pharmacological treatment of drug addiction. So somebody's actually getting their drug treatment. Here we are. This actually satisfies his drug need. As you can see, he has an attendance percentage and a success chance percentage. So generally with these education programs is he can miss attendance of classes because he might be locked up, he might be in solitary, he might be detained in some way, and he can't get to his classes. Also, there's pass rates based on prisoner mood and effectiveness of the course, and just other random factors I'm not entirely sure of. The alcoholics group therapy. Now we can start it, and because we put in all those chairs, we have plenty of space actually. And this one's going to operate right now. It's a. If I wanted to put in our one, see all rooms are booked. It's I think a 2-hour. And we got our grant for putting up visitation. Now, when visitors come to visit, and here they are. Here's some visitors here. They come in. And they go to visitation, and they wait for prisoners to come and visit them. In this case, this is probably actually all one family. Let's see, we have Jackson's father, Jackson's mother, and Jackson's wife. The prisoner might not actually come and visit. As you can see, the psychologist is now teaching his class over here. Marples is like, I want to talk about how I'm so sleepy to my family. But Olson's here getting his class, Moon's getting here getting his class. And you can see his concentration is terrible, but his understanding is excellent. So his attendance is 1%, but his success rate is currently 0. And his concentration would be improved if we're meeting his needs. So, like, if we were to improve his clothing and privacy, he'd be better able to concentrate. Just grab a guard and have a look over here at visitation so you can see the visitors. And there they are. They're visiting Jackson. And Jackson is talking to his family. Although his family, I gotta say, prisoners' families never seem to actually look at them. They're always staring away in the other direction. But yeah, it makes the prisoner happier to actually have people visit. It's makes for less riots. It's good. Now, programs only happen during work periods. So when you're looking at the regime, you need to schedule blocks of time that are suitable for the classes, like alcoholics group therapy. Right? That's each session is $200 a session. It takes 10 sessions. You can have up to 20 places, right? The session length is 2 hours. So if I had 20 chairs here, I could have 20 prisoners all receiving therapy at the same time. So that can be pretty good value. Treatment of drug addiction. That's 3 sessions, 10 places each time around. So if my infirmary had 10 beds, I could have 10 sessions. 10 prisoners in at the same time. They can fail, the prisoners, and if they fail, they can do it again. These other programs down here require education to be unlocked or prison labor. So we'll be covering that in our next part of the series. In education and labor. But this is really health and well-being, and on the whole, between the visitation and therapy, you're getting your toe wet in programs. Okay, so like I was saying about regime, I currently only have a 3-hour work blot here set in the evening, and if prisoners don't actually have applicable work, they will go off and find other things to do, like Keevil's watching TV. If I had scheduled a 1-hour block in the morning for work, right, I'd be able to fit a methadone program in then. So I can double dip my facilities, right? Like if I could have 3 methadone clinics running consecutively here. It's just that the prisoners can only take 1 class a day of it effectively. It doesn't do any good to take 3 methadone clinic classes, one after another. They won't. Basically, they will only benefit from 1 class in the course of the day that way. So it won't do any good to schedule 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening for the same prisoners. Now, if I was short in capacity, like if I had, say, I don't know, like 4 prisoners who needed treatment, I only have 2 beds. So I could schedule 1 class and then schedule another class, and they will, come to those classes appropriately. What else can I cover? I think I've covered all of this right now. Yeah. So we have our 2 doctors. I generally prefer to fire a doctor, just because they tend to be expensive. If we go over here to staff, we could fire one of these doctors easily enough, because they do contribute to wages. As you can see here, if I hover over doctor, he's $100 a day. The main cost, though, was involved in hiring him in the first place. The other thing the infirmary will do is basically heal people who are injured. Let's say there was an incident where one of these guys shanked the other one in the shower. Just to be completely stereotypical. Um, the prisoner might be brought here to the infirmary to be healed. Or let's say a prisoner attacked a guard. The guard will come to the infirmary to be healed. And if there is somebody who's killed, their body will be transported to the morgue. And eventually then transported later on to an ambulance and brought off site. What else? I have an overpopulated jail, of course, because we continue to receive prisoners. So right now we actually have 16 prisoners with 8 beds. So that's the last thing we're going to cover, is essentially what's going to happen when we have so many prisoners and not enough beds. As you can see, beds are currently occupied by people who are relaxing, which is satisfying a comfort need. Now this work period is going to come to an end. There we go. Now they're scheduled to eat. So they're going to go off to the canteen and eat. And assuming that there's meals available and they're hungry, they're going to eat. So there's meals available and this guy's hungry, so he's eating. These guys aren't hungry, so they're like chatting, talking, killing time, doing the things they want to do. But I mean, seriously, guys, bacon. Just put bacon on the table, guys. You can see how the prison's getting dirtier and dirtier with like foot scuff marks and things like that. That's because we have no one cleaning anything here. And currently there's no prison labor for cleaning anything. Now I can hire a janitor just on the basis of like hiring a janitor if I've unlocked cleaning, which I have not done yet. We're going to, again, be covering this as we go along in the next part. So, right, everyone's gone to bed. What happened? Let's have a look. The smart prisoners, or the fast prisoners, got to bed quick, right? And it's not just the guys who were here before. Like, Berenson's a new guy. Nash is a new guy. Jackson wasn't a new guy, but I'm pretty sure Welsh and Knight are new guys as well. So, like, Olson, he's definitely an old guy. He has nowhere to be to go to bed. So he's just going to mill about, and, you know, he's going to be in here. Now, fortunately, there's a TV now, and a phone booth, and there's some benches, and there's toilets, so he can satisfy various needs, but he won't be able to satisfy his sleep need. And they are just going to sleep the entire night. So they're not going to get out of these beds and make sure that anyone could share. Though these are their beds, and you can't have them. Olson has a hammer. Olson has a hammer. I just saw him flash it. It was on the screen for a brief moment. You can go back and look. I'm having him searched. There we go. We found his hammer contraband. As such, we found weapons on him. That means he's going to get punished. Now, because we found weapons on him, he's going to solitary for a while. And we've locked him in. He's being punished. And that puts a suppressed status on him. Being suppressed means he's less likely to act out. He's also less likely to pay attention in class. You can see the solitary's on there, 1 hour and change. That's going to count down as he serves his punishment time. The longer he's in there, the more suppressed effect he's going to have on him. This also affects his experience. Remember when the last time we were talking about experiences? So his mood is had a bit bad time. He's condition suppressed, right? And you can see he's spending a lot more time in lockdown because he's in lockdown at the moment. But his reoffending chance seems to be going down. Why? Because he's being punished. And now that he's served his time, he's being put back into the holding cell. And he's released from his handcuffs, and he's back to being a regular Olsen guy who's now sitting on a bench talking about, yeah, they found my hammer, man. I don't know how they did that. And this remains in his record, the found weapons thing. But as you can see, his punishment went up. 5% of his stay is suppressed. He's got 15% of his stay locked up. 5 years served. His security's up because he spent time locked up. He's got an active addiction which is undermining his health, but we are treating that. And if he actually passes a program, he'll get some reform on him as well. So right now his reoffending chance is just 9%. He's actually likely to go straight when he leaves here, which is nice. But, yeah, it was a good little demonstration. Yeah, so join us next time for Education and Labor, when we unlock those aspects of the game and set to show you examples of setting it up on our tester prison here. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a great day. Goodbye.